I am excited to be sharing today's interview with you, which is with an OT named Erica Stevens, and she is the owner of Thrive OT, which is a multi-location, multi-therapy practice that she started from nothing and has grown to about 10 employees. I hope you enjoy today's interview. Erica, thank you so much for joining me today. I can't wait to talk with you. And as we get started, I would love for you to tell everyone about your practice, the types of clients you see, and how many locations and therapists you have working with you.
Yes, Doug, thank you for having me. It was so nice to meet you at the Pelvic Health Conference, and I'm just so excited and thrilled to be here today to speak on the other thing that I love, which is the business side of it. So not just the pelvic health stuff, but I love getting into like the business and the behind the scenes things. So I started Thrive Occupational Therapy, Health and Wellness in 2017. I live in Harlan, Iowa, and we now have 3 locations. Harlan being kind of the, first and foremost flagship location. And then we have Omaha, Nebraska, which is about an hour away. And then Gretna, Nebraska is about 30 minutes from Omaha. We currently have 10 of us total. So we have a couple office staff members, myself, and then 7 other therapists that range from full-time. We have a couple PRN and then a couple part-time as well. The pillars of what we do include, of course, pelvic health. That's one of the main pillars, but also lymphedema and fascia work, and then mental and emotional health and wellness. So really how we market our services are using those 3 pillars. And it's been very well received by our communities. Obviously, Harlan's a little more rural. It's a town of 5,000 people. And then being in Omaha and a couple, larger spaces, we get a very diverse client load, and that's been incredibly fun.
That's amazing. So 3 locations, 10 therapists. I mean, you're just absolutely rocking it. And that is just 7 years in business now. You said 2017. So congratulations. Like, you must be just over the moon with the success that you've been having and the number of clients that means you can impact. You mentioned the population size of Harlan, right? So it's a more rural area. So take us back to those early days in 2017, before you had all the locations and everything. Like, how did you get started, and then how did you grow?
Yeah. So back in 2017, I was serving as like a team lead or rehab director of a couple skilled nursing facilities. And I kept seeing patients with comorbidities of urinary incontinence and pelvic health stuff. And that's when I realized I wish I could help these people before it became a chronic comorbidity. And now they're in the nursing home. And that's when I stumbled upon your wife's work. And I found an article that Lindsay had written, and it was in rural Iowa. I was between seeing a couple patients, and I found her work and thought, I could do this. I need to be doing this. And so I went and took a bunch of courses, like a lot of occupational therapists in public health space. I just became a sponge for everything I could learn. And I really started presenting anywhere that would let me. We joke that one of my first presentations was at a hair salon, and I handed out flyers with surveys just to gauge interest and see if clients would want to come in. I would speak in front of one person, I'd speak in front of 100 people, wherever I could go to start sharing this knowledge that I was learning. And I felt a real responsibility to bring these services to a very underserved population in my rural community, and then expand it from there. And so I was throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what would stick. And I'm grateful that it has stuck. And since then, we've kind of revamped how we market our services. I've gotten very confident saying it's occupational therapy, and here's what I can bring to the table. I probably waited too long to hire. There was one point in time when I was going to Omaha, which I said was about an hour away, in Nebraska. And so I was dual licensed and had, now I have locations in both. So we have business contracts in both states. And I was going back and forth and seeing clients in Omaha in their homes one day every couple weeks. And then I was serving my caseload in Harlan. And I actually got so busy in Harlan, I couldn't go to Omaha anymore. And I ended up with a wait list in Harlan, 3-month wait list. And since then, I've had 2 children, the pandemic, been able to kind of navigate those waters, and hired my first therapist about 2 years ago, and probably could have and should have done it a little bit sooner.
A lot sooner than that. Well, it's amazing that you are really, so many people start off as the solopreneur, right? And so they're still treating, but they're also the CEO. But it's not really, I think, until you start managing the people that you really have to step into that CEO, hat fully. Like, what has that been like for you managing your people? Like, what's your favorite parts of it? Where is it requires you to grow like as an individual?
Yeah. I really feel like all of the practice of running the business and wearing all the hats in the business has organically led me to this role of now being a leader on my team. And I wasn't prepared for how much I would enjoy it, and also all of the discomfort that would come with it. And so I've really enjoyed prioritizing my team's needs, and instead of directly serving my patient, I'm now serving our population in a different way by serving my team, so that they can in turn serve our patient and client population better. I really prioritize team meetings, team building, mentorship opportunities to try to help them not only have a good work-life balance, but a good life. Like, I want them to feel like successful, engaged people and professionals. So I'm always reading books on leadership and podcasts and trying to challenge myself and improve my skills wherever I can. So that has been a true joy of mine.
Do you feel like it came natural to you when you first started? Like, had you already been doing a lot of those things and readings and podcast research, and so you kind of hit the ground running, or was it a little rocky in the beginning?
Yeah. There's definitely a learning curve. I would say the hardest part was the discomfort, as I mentioned. And instead of realizing that discomfort doesn't leave, I've just learned to be better about being, sitting in the discomfort and putting myself outside of my comfort zone and making that feel more natural, because that part of entrepreneurship doesn't really go away. You just get better at handling those situations. I feel like, though, a lot of it did come naturally. Many of the roles I've had professionally, whether it be as an OT or any job prior, I would naturally, become, either like management, or I was always seeking, a level of helping others and mentoring and leading. That just was kind of an organic thing. As I mentioned, I was a team lead and rehab director at previous roles. And so it's really been within me to like, how can I help elevate other people? And I say that to our team, like, if not only am I trying to elevate myself, but I want to help elevate those around me. And, when one of us wins, we all win. And so I've just really enjoyed that. I was reading some books about this. I'm currently pursuing my post-professional doctorate at Creighton. And one of the courses we talked a lot about entrepreneurship and advocacy and leadership. And that hit at a perfect time in my business where I could align the skills I was obtaining. And then I haven't stopped learning since that class. I've just continued to dedicate, 5 hours a week to inundating myself with that.
You've mentioned 2 things that I just want to step back on, and because I think it's applicable to like every OT business owner. And one is that like this continual thirst to keep learning, because it just never goes away. Like, it's a continual state of trying to improve systems, trying to improve your mindset, trying to improve the way you motivate people. And you haven't even mentioned all the continuing education courses that you do and your therapists do, right? And so like that's always there. It never goes away. And then the other is becoming comfortable sitting with the problems, and I think that's a real super skill for everyone to develop, because the problems never go away. In fact, the problems just keep getting mounted and are larger the more you grow. And your ability to realize that you can expand and actually become bigger than the problems you're facing, not smaller as a result of those problems, is really, really important. And so I think it's amazing, like, how you've been approaching it.
Thank you. I think, academia is great and it serves its role, but I don't feel like entrepreneurs are ever really taught how to fail and how to make mistakes. And that's something that inevitably happens, whether we classify it as a failure or just, a learning opportunity, is kind of how I try to say it to my team.
Right.
That every challenge is an opportunity for us to learn and grow from that. And I've had to learn to not, as somebody who could be high achieving or wants to achieve things, that making mistakes is okay and that I'm going to make them, and it shouldn't halt progress. Like, I think fear keeps a lot of people from wanting to take the plunge into entrepreneurship, and they hold themselves to an unattainable standard, and no one's going to be perfect all of the time. And that's sitting with those problems and finding peace amongst the chaos, because there's never just a finish line of boom, I've made it, now I can relax, all the problems go away. That doesn't happen. So finding peace in the discomfort has been like a life skill that I've learned through my professional lens.
Hey, I hope that you are enjoying this video. My course and mentorship program, Private Pay MBA, is the fastest way to start your OT private pay practice. Whether you are starting on the side or going all in full-time, Private Pay MBA is the most comprehensive program available. But we all know head knowledge just isn't enough, right? Which is why I provide so much support and accountability within Private Pay MBA. You will join group coaching calls, get access to an incredibly supportive community, and get my personalized feedback on all aspects of your practice. If you are an OT that's in the beginning stage of starting your practice, then Private Pay MBA is for you. And if you've already started your practice, but you aren't getting the results that you want, then Private Pay MBA will give you the structure and tools you finally need to start attracting your ideal clients, gaining traction, and gaining that occupational choice. With hundreds of students, the material in this course has been field tested and quite simply just works. You'll learn how to build authentic referral relationships, market yourself ethically, and build a practice that you are proud of. You can check out more details at freedomofpractice.com/ppmba or click on the link below this video. Okay, now back to our video. Yeah, that's beautifully said. I 100% agree with that. Now that you have so many locations and therapists, how do you market, and how's that changed as you've grown?
Yeah. Marketing, is something that has shifted and changed depending upon the location, depending upon our needs and the needs of the community. Like I mentioned originally, I would go present everywhere and just hoping to plant that seed. And then once I started having success with my clients and they enjoyed coming in, the referrals just started coming, and I didn't have to do as much marketing because my patient was marketing for me to her friends, family, whomever they could tell, you have to go see Thrive, you have to go see Erica. And that worked really well until then hiring people. And I then shifted the business from Erica is the business to Thrive's the business. And how can I bring other people under this umbrella and be able to portray to our clients that we're all held to the same standard. We can still deliver the same quality of services. It might not just be me doing it. And so marketing really shifted to incorporate our other team members. And for our workshops that we do, or if we're having lunch with a referral source, I bring in other team members to wherever their specialty might lie, whether it's pediatrics or lymphatics, so they can speak to the referral source or whomever we're meeting with. And that's helped a lot. Getting other faces on our social media has been really helpful. A portion of our referrals do come from like the medical community. So we do have a good relationship with, especially in Omaha, the local OBGYNs and midwives and doulas. And we've worked hard to cultivate that and create a space of trust within that community. But really in Harlan, it's about getting in front of the client. There's one clinic in Harlan, there's one hospital. And so a lot of their referrals stay in-house. Although I do know that they're respectful of what we do and we do still receive some referrals, I can't exclusively count on that from anywhere. And so what we really prioritize is being able to speak to our clients and potential clients, whether that's through a wellness workshop somewhere, some gyms and yoga studios we've been to. We actually created about a month and a half ago a marketing team within the business that I had never had before. It was pretty much me exclusively doing it or bringing in people as needed. And within the last couple of months, I've identified who those marketing team members will be. Some are office staff, some are actual OTs that are very skilled in this area. We had a capstone student who's wonderful. And so it was a natural progression for her to be hired after her capstone as a full-time employee and lean into her marketing strengths as well. And being able to mentor the team on how to market and who we're marketing to has been fun. So I'm excited to see that part of the business grow, where that marketing team we can collaborate and identify other areas of opportunity.
I love what you say about, like, in Harlan, you have this sort of in-network system that isn't going to refer out to it. And that's a lot of OTs face that same challenge, and when that happens, like, yes, you can still try to make inroads. It's going to be very difficult. But what you just said, getting out in the community, making yourself known, visible, doing workshops, even your old strategy, which was genius, going to hair salons and talking to people. It's like the more you can talk and get the word out and interact with them, the more success that you're going to have. You just can't rely that they're going to find you randomly.
Right. Exactly. It's kind of coming up with that, ideal client and people that, are going to want to invest in what you're doing. It's that mutual relationship, and both parties then, feel success, participating in that mutual relationship. And so we try to find places where we could find that client that would be invested in their health and wellness outside of kind of the traditional medical model.
Yeah. So it sounds like you'll probably always be doing community events and workshops.
Yes, definitely.
Because I get that question as well, which is like, when should I stop doing community events and workshops? And I always say, I don't know if you agree with this, but I always tell them, when you want your practice to close, like if you want your practice to close, stop showing up in your community. Otherwise, you have to keep doing it.
Yeah, you do. It's just like, not only have we planted the seed, now we have to water it and nurture it and cultivate that growth. And so we have started putting strategies in place so we can circle back to referral sources, that we don't want anyone to feel like abandoned, or, we want to keep pouring into that because we really respect those relationships and they're very valuable to everyone involved. So we want them to know that we value them. And so that requires attention. And I think, as you mentioned earlier, I've had to pivot what my role is and where my time is spent from exclusively treating patients. I've had to back off on that so that I can put more time and energy into some of these necessary developing, areas of the business, because I really want those people that we have those relationships with to know how much we value that. And we also want to help support them.
Right. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And I know you've been super generous with your time. And so I just want to ask you one last question, because, OTs will hear this and they're thinking about starting a practice and they're like, geez, I can't imagine having that much staff or that many locations when I'm first starting out. And you may have not had that vision in the very beginning, but, everyone gets overwhelmed when they're thinking about starting a practice. What would be your advice to the OTs out there who want to follow in similar footsteps, but just feel intimidated by it?
Yeah. Progress, not perfection. That was something I told myself constantly. I would put mantras in my head of how to get to the next step, knowing that you just have to keep the flywheel turning one piece at a time, and being realistic with the amount of, work and energy that's going to go into it. I read that we should think that it might take 10 times more energy or 10 times more effort to accomplish something, not to dissuade you from doing it, but so that you don't get discouraged when it doesn't happen immediately. A lot of people get discouraged when, I remember presenting at places and weeks would go by and I'd get one patient to call, and I would think, man, if it takes me this long to get one patient, how long is it going to take to get 2 and 10? And then you start doing the math and you feel discouraged. And so reminding yourself that like, I just have to keep moving that flywheel one step forward. And that's still how I run the business and do things. And then you see things start to multiply just from that forward momentum and that consistency, and that wins over.
Yeah, I think it's really the consistency is the name of the game. It's not doing the one workshop or the one meeting with a referral source. It's like they want to know that you're there day in and day out, and they need those multiple touch points, to start to really like you, to trust you, to want to refer to you, to want to come to you. And it's when you're doing the right things, but you're just not doing them long enough for it to pay off. And
I've read that it can take 13 touch points before somebody actually resonates with a service. We've had clients that I've spoken, 2 years ago at an event, and they will call and say, I heard Erica present 2 years ago, and now they're interested in coming in finally. And so what I learned was people are listening. I am making an impact, even if it feels kind of like crickets in the beginning, and just remaining consistent and identifying my core values. That's something that we've always leaned into. As the business has changed, our core values have remained, and that's allowed us to be consistent and have growth that doesn't feel chaotic, that feels organic.
That's amazing. I would just want to thank you so much, Erica, for your time. Like, you are a wealth of knowledge on this, and you're having such great success. And I'm wishing you, multiple successes in the future. And just thanks for sharing all of your wisdom today.
Yeah, thanks for all that you're doing. And I'm happy to collaborate anytime you want on this. I'm so passionate about OTs in entrepreneurial positions. So thanks for bringing that to light as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you.